Listen to me. The loudest battles you'll ever fight will never be with other people. They'll be with the noise inside your own head. Toxic people don't destroy you with what they say. They destroy you with what you allow to echo. And until you master silence, you'll always be chained to their chaos. But the day you learn to hold your peace, that's the day you take back your power. You've got to understand something deep about toxic people. They thrive where you let them. They don't need your permission to speak, but they need your attention to survive. And the moment you cut that off, the moment you decide I'm not feeding this energy anymore, that's the day they lose their grip on you. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. It's the ultimate discipline of a warrior. Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And that's exactly what silence does. It reminds you that power is not in what they throw at you, but in how you choose to respond. See, the enemy of your growth is not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. Toxic people will dress their words like jokes, but every line is sharpened to cut. They'll disguise manipulation as advice, but the root is control. And if you keep answering every jab, every insult, every sarcastic remark, then you've already handed them the keys to your peace. Think about it. If every time someone throws a stone, you stop your journey to pick it up, you'll never reach your destination. The road to wealth, financial wealth, spiritual wealth, emotional wealth demands focus. And focus means you don't stop for distractions, no matter how loud they scream. Here's the truth. Silence is louder than confrontation. When you refuse to react, you expose who they really are. You ever notice how toxic people get louder the quieter you become? That's because they can't feed off emptiness. They can't drink from a dry well. They need your energy to keep their fire burning. And when you cut the supply, they suffocate on their own negativity. There's an old African proverb that says, even silence speaks when the ears are wise enough to hear. And trust me, your silence will scream louder than any argument you could ever make. Let me make this practical. Imagine a coworker who always has something slick to say, always undermining you in front of the team. Most people take the bait. They clap back, they argue, they waste energy, but the one who stays composed, who doesn't flinch, who just keeps producing results, that's the one who wins. Because now the toxic one looks like noise and you look like discipline. Wealthy people, successful people, leaders, they don't argue with fools. They don't negotiate with chaos. They master their peace because peace is the soil where growth is planted. I'm telling you, the day you master silence is the day you unlock freedom. Think of Socrates, who said, strong minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, weak minds discuss people. Toxic people are addicted to talking about people, pointing fingers, gossiping, stirring division. But the one who stays silent, the one who refuses to participate, rises above. That's not just philosophy. That's a survival tactic. Because if you can't control what goes in your ear, you'll never control what comes out of your mouth. And if you can't control your mouth, you'll destroy your destiny with your own tongue. So today I need you to practice it. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today, when that toxic text comes in, don't reply. When that coworker takes their shot, don't flinch. When that family member tries to pull you back into drama, don't take the bait. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to know your silence is your shield. And the moment you wield it, they can't touch you anymore. That's the power you've been missing. Hold it and watch how fast they disappear. You know why most people keep getting hurt by the same toxic people? Because they never set the line in the sand. They confuse kindness with access. They think love means tolerance. That family means permission. That friendship means unlimited chances. Let me tell you something. If you don't set boundaries, you're volunteering for pain. And the truth is, toxic people will never respect a door that's wide open. They only understand walls. They only understand limits. The moment you draw the line, you show them you value yourself. And when you value yourself, you train the world how to treat you. I remember what Epictetus taught. No man is free who is not master of himself. That means if you can't say no, you're not free. If you can't draw boundaries, you're not in control. They are. Every time you allow someone to keep crossing the line, you're teaching them that your peace is cheap. And when your peace is cheap, Your destiny becomes fragile. You cannot build wealth, spiritual wealth, financial wealth, or emotional wealth when your mind is constantly leaking energy to people who don't deserve it. Think about it. If your phone had a battery leak, you'd rush to fix it. You'd guard that power source because you know without it, nothing else works. But when your mind leaks peace because you refuse to set boundaries, you let toxic people drain your soul day after day. And then you wonder why you don't have energy to chase dreams, to build businesses, to grow stronger. The leak isn't life, it's them. And the only fix is to close the access point. Let me give you something practical. You don't need to curse people out. You don't need to slam doors. You don't need to prove your worth. All you have to do is set the limit and then enforce it. Somebody calls you with drama. Limit it. Somebody disrespects your vision. Limit it. Somebody mocks your dreams. Limit it. Because here's the truth. People don't respect what you allow. They respect what you protect. And once you protect your peace, they either adjust or they exit. Either way, you win. Don't get me wrong. Boundaries are not about hate. They're about love. Love for yourself. Love for your purpose, love for your future. It's not about shutting people out. It's about shutting drama out. It's not about being cold. It's about being clear. The boundary is not punishment. It's protection. And if they can't handle the protection, it's because they never valued the connection. I think of Aristotle, who once said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. When you know yourself, you know your limits. You know what drains you. You know what builds you. And when you know that, you stop apologizing for protecting it. Because wisdom says, if you keep planting seeds in toxic soil, don't be surprised when the fruit is poison. That's why boundaries are the fence that protects your harvest. Without it, anyone can walk through and trample on what you've been building. So I'm asking you, what's your boundary? Where's the line? Is it gossip? Is it disrespect? Is it negativity? Is it manipulation? Decide it now. Because the moment you decide, toxic people will test it, but they can't defeat it. They might push. But when you stand firm, they'll realize your peace is no longer for sale. And that's when the shift happens. They stop knocking on doors that don't open anymore. Say it with me. I am not a doormat. I am not an open door for chaos. I am the guard of my peace, the protector of my purpose. And once I set that boundary, toxic people will never bother me again. Here's the reality. Some of you keep letting toxic people back in because you're addicted to explaining yourself. You think if you give them the right words, if you share enough of your side, if you pour out enough of your heart, they'll finally understand you. But let me break it to you. Toxic people are not listening to understand. They're listening to respond. They're not looking for peace. They're looking for control. And the moment you recognize that, you stop wasting your breath. Silence isn't just about ignoring. It's about refusing to feed their agenda. Confucius once said, silence is a true friend who never betrays. You hear me? Your silence will never stab you in the back, but your words spoken in the wrong moment to the wrong person can and will. Toxic people will twist your explanations. They'll weaponize your words and they'll turn your heart against you. That's why the most powerful thing you can do is to say less. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know the battlefield isn't worth your presence. Look at history. Great leaders, great thinkers, they knew when to speak and when to hold back. They understood that not every attack deserves an answer and not every insult deserves a rebuttal. You don't need to prove yourself to someone who's already decided not to see your worth. That's like arguing with a wall. Your energy goes out, but nothing comes back. You walk away drained, they walk away empowered, and the cycle continues. But the moment you step back in silence, the moment you refuse to give them what they crave, you break the cycle. Let me give you something practical. Maybe it's a family member who keeps dragging you into the same argument year after year. Maybe it's a coworker who thrives on getting a reaction out of you. Or maybe it's that so-called friend who always needs to pull you into gossip and negativity. You think you owe them words, but you don't. You owe them silence. Because silence says, I'm no longer playing this game. Silence says, I value my energy too much. Silence says, I've moved on, whether you like it or not. And here's the power. Silence exposes them. When you stop responding, when you stop defending, they're left holding their own mess. They can no longer shift it onto you. They can no longer play the blame game. They are forced to sit in the echo of their own words. And that's something most toxic people cannot handle. They need a reaction. And when you refuse, you starve them of power. Plato once said, "Wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools, because they have to say something." Toxic people always have to say something. They'll talk and talk, but when you master silence, you make them look foolish all by themselves. You don't have to prove who you are. You don't have to fight every battle. You just have to protect your ground with silence and let your life, your work, your results speak for you. So I'm telling you right now, your silence is not surrender. It's strategy. It's not about avoiding confrontation. It's about controlling it. It's not about weakness. It's about wisdom. And once you learn to master it, toxic people will never know what to do with you again because you've taken away their favorite weapon, your reaction. Say it to yourself. I don't need to explain. I don't need to defend. My silence is enough. And when you embrace that, you'll finally realize you've already won. Let me tell you something powerful. Your energy is your currency. Every day you're either investing it or wasting it. And toxic people, they're like thieves standing by the door of your soul, waiting for you to pay them with your time, your attention, your focus. They don't need your money. They need your energy. Because once they drain that, you have nothing left to fight for your dreams. You want to know why they keep bothering you? Because you keep paying them with the most valuable thing you have, your energy. The truth is, you can't build wealth, you can't build greatness, you can't build purpose when you're broke in spirit. And that's exactly what happens when you let negativity rob you. You walk into your goals tired. You walk into your calling distracted. You walk into your opportunities with no fire left. Toxic people win, not because they're stronger, but because you keep giving them free rent in your mind. And the rent they don't deserve is costing you your destiny. Lao Tzu once said, "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." That's the test. Are you mighty enough to guard your energy? Are you disciplined enough to say, "No, I don't entertain that conversation. No, I don't allow that distraction. No, I don't fuel that negativity." Because when you conquer yourself, when you conquer your own urge to engage, that's when you cut off their supply. And the moment you cut off the supply, the leeches leave. Let me make it real. Imagine you've got a bucket of water and that water represents your focus, your creativity, your grind. Every time you argue with someone who doesn't respect you, you poke a hole in that bucket. Every time you replay their words in your head, you poke another hole. Every time you let them pull you into drama, another hole. Before long, the bucket is empty. And not because life took it, but because you handed it over. And then you wonder why your dream feels dry, why your grind feels heavy, why your vision feels blurry. It's because the people who shouldn't even be near your bucket are the ones you're letting poke holes in it. But here's the good news. You can patch it today. You can decide right now that your energy is no longer available for people who don't respect it. You can say, "I'm done paying with my peace. I'm done financing drama with my focus. I'm done sponsoring negativity with my time." Because the moment you stop paying, they stop showing up. Think about Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, who wrote in his meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the power you've been missing. The toxic person isn't the problem. The access is. They can only bother you if you allow them into your mental economy. And when you shut the door, you take back the strength that was always yours. So ask yourself, where is your energy going? Who's getting the biggest piece of you? Are you feeding people who build you or people who break you? Because until you answer that honestly, you'll keep wondering why your tank is empty. When you decide, when you finally cut off the drain, you'll realize something. Your energy, when preserved, becomes unstoppable. It fuels your dreams. It builds your confidence. It makes your silence louder than any argument. And toxic people can't touch a soul that's fully charged with purpose. Say it with me. I am no longer a battery for toxic people. I am no longer a source of fuel for negativity. My energy is mine, and the moment I protect it, they can never bother me again. You know what keeps toxic people coming back? Access. As long as you leave the door cracked, they will walk through it. And some of you, let's be real, You don't just leave the door cracked, you leave it wide open. Lights on, dinner ready, waiting for people who've already proven they don't deserve your presence. And then you wonder why you keep getting hurt. Let me tell you, you can't heal if you keep handing out keys to the same people who broke you. You have to learn the power of boundaries. A boundary isn't a wall, it's a gate. It doesn't mean you hate people. It doesn't mean you're bitter. It doesn't mean you're cold. It means you're wise enough to decide who gets in and who stays out. Toxic people thrive in spaces without boundaries. They thrive where everything is accessible, where everyone is available, where no one says no. And if you don't draw that line, they'll draw it for you. Aristotle once said, the most difficult thing in life is to know yourself. And once you know yourself, you know your limits. You know how much peace you need, how much space you need, how much silence you need to stay sane. Boundaries aren't about keeping others out as much as they're about keeping yourself intact. Because if you don't protect your peace, if you don't guard your spirit, if you don't create space between you and what drains you, you will burn out before you ever step into your purpose. Think about it. If you own a bank, you don't hand out your vault code to just anyone. You protect it because what's inside is valuable. Well, your mind, your energy, your time, that's your vault. And every time you let toxic people inside, they're not coming to deposit, they're coming to withdraw. And if you're not careful, they'll walk out with everything that matters to you, your confidence, your hope, your joy. Boundaries are the locks on your vault. And until you put them in place, you'll always be robbed. Let me get practical. Maybe that means you stop answering every phone call that comes your way. Maybe it means you limit how long you stay in certain conversations. Maybe it means you learn to say, I can't today, and not feel guilty about it. Some of you are so afraid of disappointing others that you keep disappointing yourself. You're so worried about being called selfish that you don't realize the truth. You're supposed to be a steward of your own life first. Because if you don't guard your garden, weeds will take over. And here's what toxic people hate the most: boundaries they cannot cross. When you stand firm and you stop explaining your no, when you stop justifying your distance, they panic because their control over you was never about love. It was about access. Take away the access and their power crumbles. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." How much of your life have you wasted explaining yourself to people who don't respect you? How much of your time have you given to people who never plan to give it back? That's what boundaries protect you from waste. You don't have time to argue with someone who will never change. You don't have time to keep reopening doors that lead to the same destruction. You don't have time to let toxic people write chapters in a book that belongs to your destiny. So I'm telling you, shut the door. Not because you're cruel, but because you're clear. Not because you're selfish, but because you're wise. Boundaries are the line between the life you want and the chaos they bring. Draw it boldly. Stand on it firmly. Protect it unapologetically. And once you do, toxic people will never bother you again because they'll realize the door they used to walk through is locked forever. One of the greatest tricks toxic people play is convincing you that you need their approval. They make you feel like without their validation, your success isn't real. Without their applause, your efforts don't matter. But hear me on this. The moment you stop seeking validation from toxic people is the moment you free yourself from their grip forever. See, toxic people know your hunger. They know you want to be recognized. They know you want to be loved. And they use that against you. They dangle their approval like a carrot, making you chase it, making you prove yourself again and again. But no matter what you do, it's never enough. You bend, you break, you sacrifice, and still they move the goalposts. That's the trap. And if you don't wake up, you'll spend your life running in circles, exhausted, while they stand still watching you chase air. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know what they are talking about." Think about that. If 10,000 people can't validate your worth, why give one toxic person that power? Your value is not in their applause. Your identity is not in their approval. Your destiny is not in their permission. You were born with worth, and no man or woman has the authority to take it from you. Look at the greatest builders, the greatest dreamers. They didn't wait for applause to start moving. They didn't wait for people to clap before they took the first step. They believed in their vision enough to walk alone. And that's the key. Sometimes you've got to walk without claps, without cheers, without validation. Because when your confidence is built on their approval, your destruction is built into your foundation. But when your confidence is built on purpose, nothing they say or withhold can shake you. Let me give you something practical. Maybe you post your work online and the very people who should support you stay silent, or worse, they criticize it. Maybe you take a step forward in your career and instead of celebrating you, they question your ability. Maybe you choose growth and suddenly they call you different, like that's a bad thing. Let me tell you, growth should make you different. Success should separate you. Your past should never shrink to make someone else comfortable. And when you stop waiting for their stamp of approval, you'll realize you never needed it in the first place. Toxic people lose their power when you stop handing them the pen. They can no longer write the story of your worth. They can no longer decide when you're enough. They can no longer control your moves with their silence or their criticism because you've decided that their voice doesn't carry weight in your life anymore. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." But let me flip it for you. The life lived under constant examination by toxic people is not worth suffering. Stop living like you're on trial. Stop acting like your every step needs a jury to decide if it's good enough. You don't need a jury when the judge already stamped you with purpose from day one. And here's the truth. When you stop craving their validation, you start operating on a higher frequency. You no longer bend to fit their expectations. You no longer beg for their applause. You move differently, speak differently, think differently. That's the kind of power toxic people cannot handle because now their approval doesn't matter and their disapproval doesn't stop you. So I need you to do this once. Take back the pen, stop auditioning for roles you were never meant to play, and stop waiting for toxic people to clap for you. Walk in your purpose, not in their permission. And when you do, you'll see they can't bother you anymore because their validation was the only weapon they ever had, and you just took it away. Listen to me carefully. Your boundaries are not walls to keep love out. They are gates to keep poison from walking in. And if you don't set them, toxic people will set them for you. They'll decide when they can call you, how they can speak to you, what they can take from you. Before long, you won't even recognize your own life because you've given them the keys to it. Here's the truth. The reason toxic people keep circling back, the reason they keep knocking at your door is because you've left it unlocked. You didn't change the locks. You didn't put up limits. And they know that if they push long enough, you'll give in. But the moment you draw the line, the moment you say, this is where my peace begins and where your access ends, they can't play you the same way. Aristotle once said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And when you know yourself, you know your limits. You know what you will allow and what you won't. You know what strengthens you and what drains you. You know when to say yes and when to say no. Toxic people prey on those who don't know themselves because without boundaries, you're an open field. But when you know yourself, your boundaries become unshakable and they have no room to invade. Let me make it real for you. Think about your phone. Every single day, you decide what apps stay and which ones get deleted. You choose who gets your number and who doesn't. You control what notifications get through. That's your boundary. Now imagine never turning those settings on. Every app draining your battery, every call interrupting your time, every alert distracting your focus. You lose control of the phone in your own pocket. That's exactly what happens when you don't set boundaries in life. You lose control of the very thing that belongs to you. And here's the secret. Boundaries are not about them, they're about you. They're not about controlling others, they're about controlling yourself. You can't stop toxic people from being toxic, but you can stop giving them access to your spirit. You can't stop them from talking, but you can stop answering. You can't stop them from showing up, but you can stop opening the door. That's power. Seneca said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. That means if their presence doesn't make you better, their absence will. And you've got to be brave enough to enforce that. Maybe it's telling a family member, I love you, but I won't let you disrespect me. Maybe it's telling a friend, I want you in my life, but not if you bring drama with you. Maybe it's telling yourself, I don't have to explain my boundaries to anyone. They are mine to protect. And let me be real. At first, they won't like it. Toxic people hate boundaries Because boundaries take away their control. They'll call you selfish. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of being cold. But you know what? Growth always looks selfish to people who were benefiting from your lack of boundaries. They don't miss you. They miss the version of you they could exploit. So the question is, are you bold enough to protect your peace, even if it means being misunderstood? Are you strong enough to guard your focus, even if it means standing alone? Because once you do, something powerful happens. Toxic people stop trying. They stop calling. They stop knocking. Why? Because boundaries are like a locked gate. They can bang all they want, but if you never open, they'll eventually walk away. So I need you to decide today, once and for all, draw the line, set the gate, lock the door. Don't apologize for it. Don't explain it. Just enforce it, because the moment you do, you'll see those toxic people who once drained you will realize they can't touch you anymore. And that freedom, that peace is priceless. Let me tell you something. Silence is not weakness. It's strategy. Some of you think every attack needs an answer. Every insult deserves a comeback. Every toxic word demands a war. No, the truth is your silence can be louder than their noise. When you stop feeding their fire, the flames go out on their own. Bluetooth once said, silence is a source of great strength. Do you understand what that means? It means silence is not empty. It's full of power. It's the pause that protects you. It's the gap that keeps you from reacting in anger and regretting it later. Toxic people live off your reaction. Your silence is the one thing they can't consume. Think about it. You ever seen a bully in school? The bully only stays powerful as long as the other kids cry, get angry, or fight back. The moment the victim stops reacting, the bully loses interest. That's exactly how toxic people operate. They want your energy, they want your emotions, they want your attention. The minute you stop giving it, they're starving. Let me give you a practical example. A man once told me about his coworker who constantly insulted him in front of others, always making little jabs, always trying to get under his skin. For weeks, he fought back, argued, tried to defend himself, but nothing changed. The coworker loved it. Then one day, he stopped responding. No emotion, no defense, just silence. At first, the coworker pushed harder, but eventually he gave up. Why? Because silence is the one battlefield toxic people can't win on. And here sits the truth. You don't owe everyone your words. Not every battle deserves your energy. Sometimes the best clapback is no clapback at all. Because when you stay silent, you send a message. I will not give you the power to pull me out of character. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Your silence is you exercising that power. Toxic people want to control your outside. They want to provoke you, embarrass you, make you lose yourself. But when you stay silent, you prove that no matter what they do on the outside, they can't touch your inside. Some of you need to hear this. Silence is not running away. Silence is rising above. You don't need to answer every lie. You don't need to fight every shadow. You don't need to clear your name to people committed to misunderstanding you. Because while you're busy defending yourself, you're wasting the energy you should be using to build yourself. Now listen, I'm not saying stay silent about injustice. I'm not saying never speak your truth. What I am saying is choose your battles. Not every attack deserves your attention. Save your voice for moments that build you, not break you. Save your words for visions that lift you, not distractions that drain you. Because the more you waste words on toxic people, the less you have for your purpose. Think about a lion. The lion doesn't sit, roar. Every time a dog barks, the lion knows its presence speaks for itself. And you gotta start living like that. Your silence is not weakness. It sits confidence. It says, I don't need to prove who I am to you. I know who I am. So the next time a toxic person throws words at you, I want you to remember this. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing. Walk away, hold your peace, guard your spirit. Because when you choose silence, you don't just avoid the fight, you win it before it begins. Toxic people thrive on confusion. They twist your words, distort your intentions, and create chaos around you because confusion gives them control. But the moment you set clear boundaries, the game changes. Boundaries are the walls that protect your peace, the lines that say you can come this far, but no further. And once you set them, toxic people lose their power to manipulate you. Let me be real, if you don't set boundaries, toxic people will write the rules for you. And their rules always benefit them. You'll find yourself exhausted, drained, doing things you don't want to do, going places you don't want to go, giving more than you can afford to give. And then you wonder why you feel empty. It's because you never built a gate around your spirit. Epictetus once said, "No person is free who is not master of themselves." Boundaries are how you master yourself. They're how you decide who gets access to you and on what terms. Without them, you're not living, you're reacting. Without them, you're not choosing, you're being chosen. And trust me, toxic people will always choose to take more than they give. Here's a practical example. I know a woman who constantly allowed her so-called friends to dump their problems on her. Every night her phone would ring, and for hours she'd sit and listen to negativity, drama, and gossip. It drained her. She had no time to rest, no time to work on her goals. One day she set a boundary. She told them, "I can't answer your calls after 9 p.m. At first they got angry. They accused her of being selfish, but eventually the calls stopped. And for the first time in years, she had peace. That's the power of boundaries. See, toxic people don't like boundaries because boundaries expose them. Boundaries say, "I will not be your victim. I will not be your doormat. I will not give you endless access to my mind, my time, or my energy." And when they realize they can't use you the way they want, they either change or they leave. Either way, you win. Aristotle once said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." Boundaries start with knowing yourself, knowing what you will and will not accept, knowing what drains you and what feeds you, knowing where you need space and where you need connection. Without that self-knowledge, you'll let others decide for you, and toxic people are always happy to decide for you because they will decide in a way that benefits them, not you. Now hear me. Boundaries are not about building walls to keep everyone out. They're about building doors so the right people can come in and the wrong people can stay out. They're about choosing who gets access to your energy. And trust me, when you guard your energy, you start living at a higher level. And yes, setting boundaries will upset people. But the truth is, the only people who get upset about your boundaries are the ones who benefited from you having none. Let them be upset. Let them call you selfish. Let them label you, because at the end of the day, their discomfort is the price of your freedom. So if you're tired of toxic people draining you, this is the move. Set the line, hold the line, and don't apologize for the line. Protect your peace like it's treasure, because it is. And once you do this, you'll find something powerful. Toxic people stop bothering you, not because they've changed, but because you have. The final thing you need to understand is this. Toxic people cannot thrive in an environment of growth. The moment you commit to growing, to leveling up, to becoming the highest version of yourself, you automatically outgrow those who want to keep you small. Growth is the one thing they cannot follow because it requires discipline, sacrifice, and truth. And toxic people can't survive in that soil. See, they feed on stagnation. They love when you stay in the same place, talking about the same problems, living in the same cycles, because as long as you stay stuck, they have access to you. But the minute you grow, the minute you decide, "I will rise," you move to a place they can't reach. Plato said, "The direction in which education starts a man will determine his future in life." That means if you start feeding your mind with new wisdom, start surrounding yourself with new influences, start building new habits, your life will head in a new direction. And when your life shifts forward, people who want to hold you back simply fall away. Let me give you an example. I know a man who came from a circle where everyone drank, partied, wasted time, and laughed at anyone who dreamed of more. For years, he stayed stuck because he feared being alone. But one day, he decided to invest in himself, reading daily, working out, saving money, pursuing his vision. Guess what happened? His circle shrank. People started mocking him, calling him different. And you know what? He was different. Different in discipline, different in focus, different in results. And over time, the same ones who mocked him were still in the same place, while he had built a life they could only dream of. That's the truth. Growth separates you. Growth is the gate that toxic people can't walk through. Why? Because growth demands accountability, and toxic people hate accountability. Growth requires humility, and toxic people live on pride. Growth means sacrifice, and toxic people thrive on comfort. Socrates once said, "Let him who would move the world first move himself." That's the blueprint. Stop trying to fix toxic people. Stop trying to drag them with you. The best way to defeat toxicity is not by fighting it, not by arguing with it, but by outgrowing it. The higher you climb, the less you hear the noise on the ground. And here's the beauty. When you focus on your growth, your energy changes. Toxic people sense it. They know they can't play the same games with you anymore because you've matured. They know their words don't sting the way they used to because your vision is bigger than their opinion. They know they can't keep you stuck because you're already moving. Growth is the silent announcement that says, "I'm not the same person you used to know." Now don't get it twisted. Growth isn't easy. It costs. It costs time. It costs comfort. It costs relationships. But the return is freedom. The return is peace. The return is walking in rooms and knowing you don't need to shrink yourself to fit anymore. And when you live like that, toxic people don't even bother you. They don't even qualify to enter your space. So this is it. You want to make sure toxic people never bother you again. Grow so much that they can't recognize you anymore. Grow so much that their games don't even reach your level. Grow until the only ones around you are those who are building, not those who are draining. Because at the end of the day, your best defense against toxicity is not revenge, not reaction, it's elevation. Listen to me, life is too short to keep entertaining people who drain your spirit. You weren't put on this earth to babysit toxicity, to carry dead weight, or to shrink yourself so others feel comfortable. You were born to rise, to lead, to create, and to live with peace. And the moment you decide once and for all that your energy is sacred, toxic people lose their power over you. They can only play games if you sit at their table. So flip the table, walk away, set the boundary, guard your peace like it's gold, because it is. Remember this. You don't defeat toxic people by fighting them. You defeat them by refusing to participate in their chaos. You rise above, you grow, you build a life so strong that their words, their drama, their games can't even touch you. And when you do that once with all your heart, you'll never be the same again. So here's the call to action. Take inventory today. Cut what drains you, keep what feeds you, and commit to living with boundaries, growth, and clarity. Do this once, and toxic people will never bother you again.